Hi everyone, this is George Williams from Left Hand Productions Squared, and we're here today to do. Whoops, this is still open. Let's minimize that for now. And we're here to. I'm here to do a semi-quick add-on developers vlog video for this developers vlog. First, let me go and explain why everything's a bit late. It'll be also in the updates on ModDB, but I also want to put it in this just in case people are watching this without going to ModDB to see the update text. So originally I'd planned to do the update on last Wednesday, on the 31st of January, but things happened. First and foremost, I had an interview on that day, so I didn't have much time. And then on top of that, I wanted to get the audio track I've been working on for this developers update to be more complete than it was, because it was all right. It was fine. It was okay the way it was, but it wasn't much more done than it was from the last time I showed it on the developer vlog videos. It was a little bit more complete. There's like a section that I added in to connect the middle part with the end part, but it still wasn't any more done than that. What I managed to do was I managed to do a hell of a lot more after that. So the ending of it's pretty far along now. While the first two parts, the beginning and the middle, are pretty much where they were before. While I'm talking, I'm going to be trying to also fix some code issue here that I need to fix. And I'm going to see how easily it is to multitask coding and talking about other complex topics at the same time. But so that happened, and then while I was working on the ran into an issue where somehow I managed to frack up almost every driver on my computer relating to audio and this Roland A300 Pro keyboard I've been using for doing stuff. That's interesting. That's the percent. Yeah. So, what happened was that I was, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I've had problems with the driver for some reason. It was conflicting with something. I didn't know what at the time, but I do now. But I didn't know what it was conflicting with. But every once in a while, when I turned it on, it would not boot up correctly. It would turn on and then would just stop doing anything, really. Just be a blank screen on the LCD screen. And I'm already done with the change that I needed to do. So, good, that's done now. So, so I figured, you know what, let's go and try and fix this thing, because and then eventually it stopped working at all. And that was on Thursday afternoon when I started to work on the song some more. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to reinstall the drivers, because that usually works to fix stuff like this, and let's do it. So, uninstalled the drivers, restarted, reinstalled the drivers, restarted, plugged in the keyboard, and all effing hell breaks loose. First of all, my headphones completely die. So they disconnect and then they won't reconnect. Basically, they sit there flashing blue. The Logitech Artemis headphones will flash blue when you first connect them. If you have some other profile set before it re-engages the profile options you have set, because it's it's talking to the software to connect everything together and make them work properly. So it's just sitting there flashing blue, cycling through connecting and not and being disconnected, connecting, disconnecting, with that whole the USB device connecting, disconnecting sounds going on in the background. While that's happening, my keyboard is doing weird things. It started to boot up, just fine. Then once it actually got past the startup screen on the LCD and goes to the next part where it normally has channel 1 on it to show you what MIDI channel you're on, it starts randomly flashing the gel pads different on and off, different combinations. And the LCD screen starts showing a bunch of weird stuff, like different options that you would normally maybe select through the options menus. And then it just dies, and just has the blank screen that dies, but doesn't. It just eventually ends up where it used to be. But everything else is going on, and then my keyboard cuts out. Actually, Logitech keyboard stops working. So I figure, okay, something crazy just happened. So I restart my computer, disconnect. Well, first turn off and disconnect the roll-in, turn off the computer, restart it. Everything starts up fine again. Try hooking it up again, same thing happens. So uninstall the drivers for the roll-in, uninstall the drivers for Logitech on the Logitech stuff. Restart the computer, install Logitech stuff, restart it again, install the roll-in stuff, restart it again, and then everything works again. But it turns out that the headphone drivers, or maybe the Logitech software, gaming software, it has some sort of conflict with the drivers for the keyboard, and sometimes that's why it was sometimes not booting correctly. I have no clue why. It does not surprise me because the Logitech gaming software is a piece of crap anyway. I'm half surprised it doesn't kill my computer sometimes. And actually, it hasn't killed my computer, but a couple of times it actually killed the keyboard and the mouse at the same time. So I had no way to do anything with it, and I had to hard reset. That was happening back when I was trying to get something to work. Might have been the Steam controller when I originally got it, because it was, or no, it was when I first got the Master MX mouse, because it has its own wireless dongle. And apparently, what I didn't realize is that the wireless thing with the headset, or no, other way around, that wireless USB chip, whatever you want to call it, device, will actually connect to any wireless Logitech devices, and it was trying to pick up the headset for some reason, and it was causing it to just completely freak out and stop working. Caused the software to stop working, which disabled all the Logitech stuff that I have, which is like half the stuff on my connected to my computer's Logitech. So eventually I got to work by changing the USB port I had that connected into for some reason. It must have been a Windows thing, but that's caused that delay till Friday, and then by then I decided, you know what? It's been like a year since I did the update. A couple more days isn't going to kill anybody, and so I decided, okay, we'll do it on Monday. And over the weekend, I can not only finish doing the work I want to do on the audio, I can also work on this, the economy proof of concept. So I did that and did the work on this. It wasn't at this point, but it was, I added in some extra stuff to make it a little bit, add a little extra couple features in for this video. Got up this morning after, and I wasn't here over the weekend either, so I was working on this stuff on my iPad using text editor, which was interesting. But then, so I got back last night and figured, well, last night, still Monday, for another 9 minutes. And I figured, no, I'm not going to get anything ready because I'll just work on it and do it tomorrow. And I get up this morning, and lo and behold, my ONT, my optical network terminal or terminator, depending on what type of device you have. Different companies call it different things for some reason. It's basically just like a fiber cable modem sort of thing. It takes the light signal and converts it into data that you can then transmit into a router or a modem. Was not working, and it had like a red power light, and in all the documentation I could find online for this particular ONT, there's no mention of a red power light meaning anything. So apparently I've discovered a new thing with it that not even the hardware manufacturers know about, which is interesting in itself. I tend to find a lot of that stuff. Like, for example, with Visual Studio, I found more ways to break the linker that shouldn't even be possible than I care to admit. But so I power cycled it for about 10 seconds and turned it back on. It lasted for a couple of minutes and did it again. So I just left it unplugged for like 3 or 4 hours and then plugged it back in, and it's still working to this point. So, but that caused a delay, and so now everything's getting pushed back till tomorrow. So once I'm done with this video, I'm going to be actually writing the update to have it ready for tomorrow. So I have to do the rendering for this video, and I also have to add in the do the rendering for this video, the rendering for the audio video, and do the background for the audio video and the intros for the first developer's vlog and for the audio video, vlog video, and for the audio video. But that won't take me too much time to do, really, I don't think. I'll have to find the project that I have that in so I can recreate it. But that's kind of why things have been pushed back till February 6th. So, in case anybody wanted to know. So, while all that was happening today, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to do some more stuff on this, and I got a lot of crap done on this. So, not only do I have now the whole, and there's a weird issue with the printing of the trade region information I'm not going to fix because I don't want to take the time to fix it right now. But not only do I have the trade regions actually working, I also have now a quasi-semi kind of sort of population growth system in here as well. So what I added was adding population segments that doesn't actually exist in the original code for the game or the original code or the code for the universe proof of concept either. So this is new to everything. Breaking out the population into segments, and so that we can use it for processing of the resources. Having one resource instead of all the other stuff just for the proof of concept. Having the population growth based on randoms for right now. And having event situations where the population growth will be declined, or will decline either a bit or a lot depending on what randoms it chooses based on different situations. So if we end up with a situation where we have 0 resources for a turn, that'll cause a population drop through this code. And if the population is larger than the maximum population the planet is able to sustain naturally, then this code gets run, which reduces it even more. So this is kind of like the population sustainability, the planet equilibrium thing, if you watch any of the introduction videos on the planet stuff. Planet mechanics. That's what this essentially is simulating right now. And some event information to show why sometimes randomly planets have just huge population crashes. And then also tracking. So being able to track, I don't actually have the code in to actually allow you to track the average change over a number of turns, but it's in here to actually allow that to happen. I don't have the selection stuff created so you can actually use it though. So being able to track the change in population values and also percentages over the last turn and also over multiple turns. With this, you would just create some calls that would pass through the number of turns you want to do averages for, and it spits out the averages back to you. So let's go ahead and see this thing running before this video gets too long. Let's go ahead and run it here. So I'm not sure if I showed this before or not. So there's some stuff here. We have different things here. So we have a system inspector, a system finder, and an economic inspector. So the system finder was interesting. I created it as a diagnostic, and I just left it in here because that'd be interesting too. So what it does is when you select it, it brings up 2 other options. So it allows you to find any systems that have no gates or systems that don't have any active gates. So the reason why I needed this is because when I was first setting up the code, I think I mentioned this before though, I was setting up the code to limit the range that a gate can be created for a system based on a certain amount of AUs, based on a Pythagorean theorem calculation on the XYZ coordinates for each system to get the distance between them, so that we could kind of not have every system connected to every other system. When I did that, though, there was a problem where there were systems that didn't have any gates at all or didn't have any active gates. So I had to create some new code to make sure that didn't happen, and then this was like a way to check to make sure it was working properly. So I select one. It's going to say, well, it probably won't say anything now because right now I'm using test data that I created to make sure that the trade region code was working properly in a way I could verify. So in order to verify it, not using just a few systems that have pre-programmed connections in, to where it's using the randomly generated data for everything, you'd have to first go in and look at all the systems and figure out what systems were connected to what and what type the gates were. So you basically have to create this kind of a map by just looking at the data from the variable inspector while you're debugging, which is annoying in and of itself. So you have to do that first. Then you have to look at the actual trade region maps and see what was created by those and see if all that is valid. And that's like 2 times more difficult because of just how the data is structured in the map. So what I'm doing is I'm using a map now instead of using a like a vector of vectors or something, because I figured, you know what, it'd be a lot easier to use a map because you can check the keys in a map to see if it exists, and that'll allow you to check to see if that system's been used yet in the trade region for that system, the starting system. Let me just go show you the map here. So it's the map is a map of string, and the map key is a string, and the value is a vector of trade routes. It's actually in PLC system. .h. So no, a planet. It's in planet. Of course, it's in planet. Get rid of that. So here's the map down here. So string key and a vector of trade routes for the value. And the trade routes are objects instead of strings now. And each trade route has a vector in it that has trade lanes, and the trade lanes are what connects the two systems together. So that's like the 1-2, that's a trade lane. So that's one trade lane in the trade path vector and the trade route. And you have to go down all those vectors, and traversing vectors in the inspector and the watch list is a pain in the arse. Well, in the inspector is a pain in the arse, and in the watch list is a pain in the arse, because just of how the stuff is structured in the stack for those types. So I have this custom data based off this image here. So I'm only doing up to system 6, and all the connections that you see over here on this image are exactly as they're created in the code here. So we'll go ahead and hit 0 to return to the main menu. System 1 is the system inspector, which will show you that information. So we'll say system 3. So here we have system 3. This stuff is, I don't know why this gets printed this way, but it does. We can see the trade region down here. So system, well, I said 3, which is system 2. I should have said 4, which would be system 3, because it's 0 indexed. So when you put in 1, you get 0, system 0. So we're looking at system 2, which is still a valid thing to look at here. So now if you remember, system 3 is a one-way gate. So in order to get to system 3 from system 2, you should never see a 2, 1, and then 3. And also, the code that I wrote to do all this worked on the first time, kind of. There were some issues with the iteration part of it, and I'll kind of explain that again a little bit later to kind of refresh you on it, if you haven't watched the other videos, or just to refresh you even if you have, because it's kind of a complicated concept. Wasn't exactly working correctly. Did some small issues and some larger logical issues in the other recursive function that you go into from the main one, and some issues with the pathing that wasn't getting with the pathing vector, which wasn't getting set up correctly. But once I figured all that stuff out, it then works like it's supposed to. So here we go, system 5. So this is our 2 to 5 routes. So here we'll look through system 3. So as you can see now, system 2 to system 3, actually no, that's for 5. We went for 3. So there should only be 2 routes for 2 to 3. Well, 3 routes. So we have system 2 to system 3, the direct connection. We have system 2 to 4, then 4 to 3, and that's that other connection. Actually 4. Then we have system 2 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 3, so 2, 4, 5, 3. And then 1 through 6, 5 to 3, so 2, 4, 6, 5, 3. And you don't see a 2, 1, 3 because that connection here is a one-way gate and it ignores those. And so these are all the trade routes for any system that system that trade 2 can use as God. Okay, let's try this again. These are all the trade routes for any system that system 2 can use as a trading partner. So System 1, System 3, System 4, System 6, System 5. I think pretty much every system can be a trading partner in this situation. We only have 6, and they're all connected by enough jumps that at least one planet in each system, there's only one planet in each system, at least that most systems will be able to do it. Some which will, maybe 1 or 2 that only have a type 1 or 2 planet or something maybe won't be able to, but if you have at least a system with a type 3 planet, it should be able to reach everything. Because that's 4 jumps. Everything's within 4 jumps of each other, so that works. So yeah, and then you see the system 2 jump gates. So that's all that works. Now let's go back to the main menu. Of course, we're going to iterate a turn, so you're not going to see. Oh right, let's actually hit 0. I'm going to restart this for this. Because every time you go through back to the main menu, it counts as a turn, so it can process the resource generation in the population system. So we'll go ahead and hit 3 now, Economic Inspector. We'll choose System 2, which is really System 1. Or no, that is System 2. Yeah. And then a planet, so 1, because that's only a planet. So for no, I guess it is System 1. Never mind. That's right, because we're subtracting a 1 from it. So if you say 2, you go down to 1. System 1. I might be double subtracting it somewhere. It might be why. So System 1. We have a population here of 22.8 billion. No resources. It's the first turn. Nothing's been generated, but we are going to be generating 193k resources, or 193k, and also consuming 73k per turn. You can see our population breakdown here. We have our the children segment is a bunch, and the adult segment is a bunch. And we have our percentages here. The breakdown of the population like this is actually based off of one of 3 models for the beginning of it. After that, it all gets kind of randomized because it's a random addition or a random subtraction or addition based on random values. But at the beginning, all the planets will have similar starting positions. And then our generation of resources and consumption of resources per group, or rather, what it is for that group what is for that group per unit of that group. So, for example, for every child in our children segment, we're consuming 0.30 resources. For adults, we're producing 0.0000, I think that's 4 zeros, 13 resources. I had a heck of a time trying to get this value to something that wasn't making this astronomically massive. Even so, there's almost never a situation where total resources goes to 0 because the adults population will never drop low enough. So there's still some tweaking I have to do. That's why I added in the famine event, so that would maybe happen sometimes. Because what will happen is even if this drops low enough to not produce enough to match the consumption for a turn, by the time that actually happens, the number of resources that planet will have access to will be enough that it'll be able to sustain itself until it gets back to a point where it's positive resource growth instead of negative resource growth. And the overpopulation thing, and then the change down here. So, 2 and then 1. Just gotta remember that for when we go to the next turn. So back to the main menu. And we're gonna hit 3 again. 2, 1. And now we can see how it's changed over this turn. So we didn't have any famine or no overpopulation, which is interesting. We have our new population value here. We have our new values here. And then down here we have the change. So change in resources. We used up 37% of our resources that turn. We do have 120k resources available though. Population change in percent is nothing. That's interesting. Oh, right. I actually don't need that now. I forgot I removed the need for that. I didn't move it for the counting, though. And so we see the population change here. So we actually had a population growth of 0.06%. So we did get a bit of a little bit of growth out of that turn. So we had positive growth on the children's segment by 0.6%. We actually had a 0.07% decline on the adults, and a 0.04% growth on the senior segment. So let's see what happens on the next turn. 0, 3, 2, 1. So on this one we had an overpopulation situation. So you can see we had some massive population decline here. We lost 20% of our planet's population on that chart. Massive declines. Still about 23% of our resources got used. It's pretty much what it should be. Though as you can tell, though, the resource generation and consumption has declined because of the declines in the population segments. So we lost 25% of our children segment, we lost 15% of the adults segment, and we lost 30% of the elders or the seniors segment from that overpopulation. It'll take a while for it to get back to the point where you can actually have that happen again now. So let's go ahead and go to the next turn and go back to it. So here we are again. We have no events happen this time. We do still have some resources, and our resource generation's kind of taking up a little bit. Not much, though. We did use only 14% of our resources this time. We had a 0.2% increase in population overall. We had a 1.3% increase in children, 1.08% increase in elders, and our adult population dropped by 0.25%. So let's go ahead and go to the next turn. 3, 2, 1. So we had a famine this turn. Great. As a result, though, we didn't lose all of our resources. We lost quite a bit, though. We lost 68% of our resources in that turn, but we don't have 0 resources, so we still have some resources left. We have the regular population growth is kind of normal. We actually had a growth of 0.2%. Because, for the main reason, because this didn't come to 0. If this went to 0, we'd had another large die-off, but we didn't. It is a famine, but we didn't have, we didn't run out of resources entirely. I actually haven't seen this happen before, which is cool that it is happening now. So we did get a 1.1% growth on children and 2% growth on elders, 0.5% almost decline on adults. So let's do a couple more turns and see what happens. So 3, 2, 1. So regular turn, no events happened. We used 17% of our resources. More declines on the adult population. Increases, smaller increase on the child population. Larger increase, though, 2.4% now on the senior population. So that's going to cause our consumption to go up a little bit next turn. Let's go 0 again. 3, 2, 1. So again, no events happened. We used 13% of our resources. Population still ticked up a bit. Let's do a few more. So no real events. 10% of the resources. Elder population growth expanded a bit. So as we go on, our resource consumption is going down a bit, as you can see. So we started out with 67% of the adults being 67% of the population. They're at 66.4 now, while the other two have ticked up a little bit. 0, 3, 2, 1. So still no other events resource consumption's gone down another tick. Continuing to drop our adult population. Whoops. 0. Alright, we skipped a turn. So, we must have had some event happen because the adult population dropped by quite a bit, by a percentage point even. So we had a 1.6 percent growth on children, 5% reduction on our resources. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to try and see if we can get another event to happen here. It's kind of interesting that the consumption is going down. It should actually go the other way. So if we're growing our other two segments, the consumption should be going up, not down, because we're removing adults every turn, which should be driving the production down. Well, I guess driving production down, but not far enough for consumption to catch up, I guess, is really what the issue is. It's just part of the balancing problem, trying to make this thing work in a balanced way. So what do we got? Nothing, no other events yet. Still dropping our adults population. Children's now up to 17%. Come on. Let's see a famine and a population overgrowth happen at the same time. That'd be nice. Kind of awesome to see. Hard to have happen, though, after the first couple turns. Still no other events. Alright, 0, 3, 2, 1. The planet's been very stable so far. Eventually what will happen is that the adults population will drop low enough that the resource generation will be lower than consumption, and we'll start to lose resources until we hit a famine. Basically, not a low resource situation or a famine that will cause that to happen. And we'll have a huge population drop. And then things will start to build up again. And that's just how it should be. Creating a cyclical kind of system that will do stuff like that. The main problem is that we're not really removing population that fast, which is actually kind of what you want. The die-offs from famine and overpopulation are probably a bit overpowered right now. Man, this planet's getting pretty lucky. So I guess it's actually kind of not very large chance of getting a famine. So actually not really too surprised, to be honest. So elder and children are up to 18% now. Dropped to about 1.2-ish% on the or 2.2-ish% on the actually maybe more. I think it was 67% originally, so 4.2% on the adult population over however many turns it's been. 23 turns. Still no famine. Finally a famine. But it didn't reduce our resources to nothing. We did lose 66% of them, though. So no extraordinary growth changes. So it's just kind of how it'll go. And I have it set up to run an infinite number of times. So it's 0, and then we'll hit 0. But that's the economic system proof of concept. I'm actually not... How long has this been so far? 30. Yeah, I'm not gonna go back through the whole looping code. You can go watch the previous videos or the developer's vlog for that. Because it gets explained there extensively. I think I also mentioned it in the live stream too. Did a live stream developer log video kind of just to update on when the update was supposed to be coming before all hell broke loose. So thanks for checking out this video. Comments or questions, leave them below. If you haven't done so already, appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. That'll help you keep up to date on what's going on with the game, and also to be able to get notified when we post new videos. I'm going to be going to be getting back into doing the introductory videos. I kind of stopped doing that a while ago, but I'm going to start getting back into those and getting that whole thing finished. And then starting up a new series, a lore series, where pretty much all the stuff that you can find on the website or wiki is going to be put into some sort of video format that you can use to kind of interactively go through and select stuff to hear about. But until next time, this is George Williams, and I will see you next year, I guess, for the next update, since we're doing a year-long updates now. If you want to get all the information about the progress report on this update, you can click on the link in the description. It'll take you to the ModDB update news article, and you can get all the other details there, and also find a link or an embedded link to the audio as well.